Politico reports that a top advisor to Senator Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign is accused of forcibly kissing one of his subordinates. Robert Becker oversaw Sanders' Iowa campaign, then helped lead his efforts in Michigan, California, and New York as deputy national field director. In a statement to Politico, Becker categorically denied the allegations. According to the report, the alleged assault came on the final night of the Democratic convention in Philadelphia. The unnamed woman said she did not report the incident to superiors because the Sanders campaign was already over. Politico says the woman told her story to 2016 campaign staff only after Becker approached her about a potential 2020 Sanders run. According to Politico, one of the people she told was Sanders' 2016 campaign manager, Jeff Weaver. Alex Thompson broke the story for Politico. He's with us now from Politico headquarters in Arlington, Virginia. Alex, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us more about these allegations.
Yeah, so as you said, on the final night of the Democratic National Convention, all the Bernie Sanders staffers were out at a bar. It was past midnight. Robert Becker went up to one of his former subordinates, told her that he'd always wanted to sleep with her, made a crude reference to a part of his anatomy. Later in the night, he went up to her, he grabbed her wrists, he then grabbed her head, and he kissed her, held her against his mouth, and put his tongue into her mouth, and held her there for several seconds. The woman then decided to keep it to herself, at least not report it formally. She told people at the time. We confirmed the report not just with her, but with another witness there, and with two people that she told the incident to or recounted it to at the time. Then she decided to come forward, and it was this incident that made us look further into Robert Becker's management during the 2016 campaign and found a pattern of inappropriate behavior, not necessarily of this seriousness, but certainly troubling allegations like screening potential female hires on Facebook and appraising their attractiveness, bringing over guys to gawk at some of the photos, and a mishandling of a case of a staffer having her nude picture stolen off of her personal computer.
Troubling allegations. Well, last week, the New York Times reported on claims of sexism within the campaign, with women being paid less and treated worse than men. What have you heard about that?
Yeah, I think there is especially among young women that were on the 2016 campaign, I think there are dozens of them that are frustrated with how 2016 campaign went down. And I think more than anything, they've been frustrated with what they see as a lack of responsiveness from the upper tiers of Sanders' world. I think the reaction is not necessarily that this is a Bernie-specific problem, but that this is a campaign worldwide problem, Republicans and Democrats alike. And if Bernie Sanders, the supposed gold standard of progressive politics, can't get this right, then certainly no other campaign can get it right. And that's why dozens have requested a meeting with Senator Sanders to address the issue of sexual harassment and sexual violence in the 2016 campaign and try to figure out a way forward in order to create such a gold standard for any potential 2020 run.
Well, here's what Senator Sanders said last week when asked about the claims of sexism on his campaign.
I certainly apologize to any woman who felt that she was not treated appropriately. And of course, if I run, we will do better next time.
And just to be clear, you seem to indicate that you did not know at the time about the allegations. Is that correct?
Yes, I was a little bit busy running around the country trying to make the case.
What was his response regarding this most recent accusation?
His response was certainly more forceful than the last one. I think there was an understanding in Sanders' world that the last response that you just played was insufficient. A lot of former female campaign workers that I talked to described it as flip. And today he came out and he apologized to all the women that were harassed or mistreated on the campaign. He acknowledged their mistreatment, and he said that what he had done, the structures put in place in 2016 were inadequate. And I think it was a much more taking responsibility for the problem. But I still think they have a long way to go in terms of how they plan to fix it if he does indeed decide to run for president again.
Well, Senator Sanders' campaign manager in 2016, Jeff Weaver, reportedly will not return to his role if there is a Sanders 2020 campaign. Do we know if that's at all related to these accusations?
You know, we're not sure if they are related to the accusations. I will say that I don't expect Jeff Weaver to necessarily go anywhere. Jeff Weaver has been with Senator Sanders since the late 80s or early 90s. You know, he's kind of the keeper of the flame. He is always around with Bernie. But I do think that a lot of people complain that Jeff Weaver was not always the most effective manager, keeping the trains on time. And I think that perhaps that this might be an acknowledgement that they need to bring somebody in that will do that will play that role. I expect Jeff Weaver to still be involved in Sanders' public life for as long as Sanders is in public life, but I do think that these could be related and an understanding that they need to professionalize the management part of the operation.
All right, we'll see what changes are made, if any, if in fact Senator Sanders decides to run. Alex Thompson, thanks so much, Alex.
Thank you so much for having me.